Hello, everybody. Welcome. Keep coming on in. Keep logging in. We are going live on YouTube.
Hey, Jesse, this is Amy, your technician for
Hi.
tonight. Hey, it's the voice of Amy.
Hi,
We're just
Amy.
giving a second here to make sure because we had two different YouTube links possibly. So we're just giving it a second here. How's your day going?
My day's going great. I'm getting ready to move. I'm packing. I'm, yeah, everything's in boxes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it says 5 waiting to come into Penny's book thing. So now there's 9 waiting. So we are going to have to figure out how to get them to look at your regular YouTube page because, hey, okay, so I'm going to give them a link right now to Jesse's YouTube page. Sorry about this, people. We've got 2 things somehow going on here. So I'm gonna make this work. I'm gonna make this happen right now. Let's go here. Now I'm in the right one, and okay. Now I'm hearing myself. Sweet.
If you're watching, guys, just hang on. We're just figuring some things out.
There you go. They're not. We're the only ones in here.
It does say there are 4 people watching on the YouTube.
Yeah, I'm one of them. Okay. Travis, Jean, Alex. I just sent them. No, it's on Jesse's. I added a link in the chat. Okay, well, sorry about this, guys. I don't know why there's 2 YouTubes for Jesse. I mean, there's 1 account, but.
All right, we'll just. Everyone has time to grab yourself a drink, get yourself a snack.
We got 5 watching now.
Oh.
I love the delay too, because by the time I go and look at it, I hear myself talk. Mm-hmm. Entertain us, Jesse.
All right. Well, everyone, I've got myself a nice glass of Chardonnay for the evening. You can drink whatever you like. Chardonnay is kind of my brand. But we are going to bring Penny in soon once we get everybody kind of in the right room, and then we're going to talk about Penny and her new book. We're going to talk about some old books. We're going to talk about crimes that Penny and I committed when we were in our early 20s. Only crimes that the statute of limitations has passed on. We won't talk about any current crimes.
Cool. Why don't you guys get started? And this will be recorded, so we'll put up the replay for sure. And we got a hello from Joy Gee.
Oh, hey, Joy.
All right. Well, I'm going to mute myself and let you introduce Penny then.
All right. Thank you so much, Amy. Everyone, please put your virtual hands together, put your ghost hands together for the author of this wonderful new ghost fiction, my very good friend, Penny Jones. Yes. Hello. Hey.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good. Let's get into it. This is your third book that has been published. How are you feeling? It came out on the 10th. How are you feeling? Tell us a little bit about the book, and then we'll get into it.
I am feeling a-okay about it happening. It's always scary when a book's coming out, and I always have a minute of panic that people will read it or they won't read it, and either one is terrible. It's like, so there's always that you kind of have to deal with when a book comes out. But I think that's kind of past. I'm at peace now with people reading it or not reading it, whatever. It's not going to be for everybody, right? So yeah, I'm feeling good. I would love to have a real launch party one of these days. Maybe in the fall or something. and you
Absolutely.
can come here and hang out with me in Michigan.
We'll do the same thing over. We'll just do it. We'll have a real party, and we'll just virtual other people.
Yeah, we'll sit in my kitchen and have the same discussion.
Yeah, that's
Perfect.
really great. We'll just play this behind us, and we'll lip sync to it for our lives, and whoever does better can.
But we'll switch roles.
That's great. That's good.
Yeah.
I'll save my outfit. You save yours.
Okay.
But you've written a couple books before, and I loved all of them, and this book is no exception. I've just been like really diving into it. Tell us about the premise of the book, because I love I love fantasy, and it's so it's such a fantastical world. But tell us a little bit about the book that people are going to be reading.
Well,
Or not reading, what you like.
Well, I hope you read it. But it's about a woman named Naomi and a young man named Luke who have both committed suicide, or they both died by suicide, and they are trying to get to the next phase of the afterlife. The first thing they have to do is watch everyone grieve that love them or they loved or anything like that. And that's easier for Naomi than it is for Luke. Luke's taking too long, and he's going to get in trouble because you only have so long before you're done. You just don't get any more chances. But they have to get through this part so that they can go claim a vapid body and get a second chance at life.
Yeah.
Yes. So, because if you're a suicide soul in this world, the world I've created, that means that, things weren't going so great for you, and maybe you should try again and then come back to the afterlife in a different way.
Yeah. Now, tell us, like, when you're creating like this kind of fantasy world and this like the afterlife, and you're creating the rules for it. Like for this one, they have one more chance until oblivion happens and their consequences. So when you're thinking of these things, what kind of rules do you like to stick to? What do you and how are you inspired to create your afterlife in this book?
The rules were kind of tough because it's so hard to think of it in a tangible way and to have like a certain construct. And so I tried to stick to things. Oh, wait, I'm getting text because people are still in the waiting room, they're saying. Oh, no, sorry. That was separate from the afterlife. There were people still in the YouTube waiting room.
I was still in the YouTube waiting room. Well, so Amy will send them a link. And
yeah, I could do that. Or just tell them, look at Jesse Sufan's just main
Sorry for the
YouTube
interruption,
channel.
y'all.
No worries. This
My
is the
phone was
voice
just
from
buzzing.
beyond.
I'm
I'm not
sorry.
actually a ghost, but I could be. Ooh. Okay, I'll work
Add to the mystique.
All right. Yeah. So
okay.
So go ahead. Sorry.
No problem. So, but you need rules for a book to make sense. So I have the most important rule in the beginning is that you can't move on until you've watched everyone grieve. And the reason that hit me, the reason that came to me is because I lost a former boyfriend to suicide I started to say a few years ago, like 14 years ago, time's weird. And it struck me how the grieving, grieving is never easy, and it's never like a clear linear process. But with suicide, it's almost just different. And I would think I was fine, and suddenly just be so upset and just feel and just overtaken with grief just randomly. And so I have it to where the souls can kind of control that a little bit. They can kind of remind people that they're there so that they can push the process along so they can get to where they need to be next.
Yeah. And even like you talked a little bit about the smells that each soul gets a smell, and it's also so funny. I think it's so funny the way the souls are interacting with the people that are grieving, and then to even bring that humor to it, like as someone like, and you do a very good job at the beginning of the book too, like giving people information, like if they've been affected by suicide or that's kind of triggering some information for them to reach out and kind of your perspective. And then but also I guess someone who has lost people also.
Mhm.
It's so nice to bring that like humor side to it, and to kind of it's a place of healing, and so I really responded well to that. But it is so funny. Like your characters are so funny and well thought out and real. And I had so much fun looking from their point of view. It reminded me a little bit like not in a direct way, but a little bit like Beetlejuice when they're in the afterlife and they're going through that, and just had that like kind of like comedic feel to it. So I just want to let everyone know how actually funny the book is and how funny these characters are. It's really enjoyable. It makes something that might seem heavy and make it so much lighter. And so these are really just characters that you're following on their journey and their path. So I love that.
Thank you. Definitely.
And also all the shout outs to Arkansas that we get.
Yes, definitely. Lots of shout outs to Arkansas. My books always take place in Arkansas, and I've lived in Michigan for almost 14 years now. And I just can't seem to write a book that takes place anywhere but Arkansas. I don't know, just home, I guess.
Right.
Even though they're losing their minds down there right now, apparently. But whatever.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they have internet and they can watch and enjoy this. But congrats, Penny.
Thanks, Sarah.
Cool. And just so everyone knows, the book is on Amazon right now. Hopefully by the end of our
hey, Jessica.
we can we'll bump up some sales, but you can get it right on Amazon. But yeah, some Arkansas, like there's some shout outs to Missouri, and then when you did shout out once in the book like an after 2 a.m. bar, and I knew exactly
which one it was, right?
Yeah, I'm like, I know.
There were those cute apartments up there. Remember, Tamisha lived up there, and I love those so much. She hears me say her name, she's gonna be like, "Don't tell people where I live." But those adorable apartments, and it was such a dive bar, right? And then there's just like these cute little apartments there. So
yeah, it's well, yes, but it is. Oh, yeah, we had some nights, we had some good times. But like speaking, like I know there's a lot of people like on my end that may not know you, that like wanted to join and just learn about the process of writing, like what. Because I know we've known each other for a long time, longer than I would like to that I will admit in public, but like we know each other.
Still younger than me though, so.
Well, legally on paper, I have it confirmed. So you were working towards being a writer for a long time, and so maybe you could give people who are listening to kind of learn about the process a little background on like what it takes to become a writer, what the steps are.
Sure.
And those are the steps.
That's a good description. It takes a really long time, and it takes a lot of just sticking with it. And I thought by now writing books would be easier because I have 3 published, but I've written like 6 books, and it's not easier, man. It's just it never gets easier, never gets more fun. But you just have to keep going. And in the beginning, there's so much rejection, and that was a little hard to get used to. I'm glad I did, because I think it's helped me develop a kind of a thicker skin all around. I'm not nearly as sensitive to criticism as I used to be, and it's like I feel like it was helpful in that way. But it's a ton of rejection, and you have to learn too that it's not always you. That sometimes it's going to be you weren't the right fit for that agent or that publisher, or those kind of things. But eventually you'll find, if you keep going, you'll find where you need to be with it. And that's the hardest part, I think, is just you got to keep going no matter how many times you get rejected. If you want it, you have to just go. And if you get better, I do feel like I'm a better writer than I was. And you have to stick with it for that too. You can't start off and go, "Oh, I'm not good at this, I'm not going to do it." And it's so easy to do that, right? It's so easy to be like, "This is hard, I don't like it, I don't want to do it." But then you have the regrets later. A few years down the road, if you'd stuck with it, then you'd have a book out, right? So yeah, there's different ways to go about it. Self-publishing is really, I think there's a lot of people finding a real niche there right now. But you have to make sure you have a good editor. You can't just throw stuff up there. But then there's, I know people doing self-publishing, small press, and larger publishers, and I feel it seems like we're all successful in our own ways. If you found a good community too, that really helps. You find a community of writers who are going to give you good advice and are going to tell you when something's just not right, that you need to revise it before you stick it out there. And if you find people who are going to celebrate your successes with you, like they feel like ownership in your success too, that's like a big deal. So
what kind of like, what is your community like? I mean, what would you say your community of writers is?
I've got a few of them now, which is nice. But I have a writers group here that's local. Oh, is that always Jesse?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Okay. I have I can't see you anymore.
Oh.
Now I can just see you.
We're just going in and out. Where's see your face?
I need to.
I was putting the spotlight on Penny, but I freaked you out. Sorry.
No, Jesse here.
Ghost messing with you. Ghosts are messing with you. Back to your writing groups. That was awesome. I'll leave it on both of you because you guys can't miss each other, obviously.
No, you can
like, no, I can't be without him.
Sorry.
Thank you, Amy.
Okay. Writers group. So I have a group here that I work with and I have for years. So that's Pete's one of them. And so I've been writing with these guys for 12 years, I guess. So they've seen all sorts of horrible stuff come. They've seen the first drafts of terrible things and still are my friends. So that's great. And they've helped me get things to more finished stages. And then I have groups that I've met at conferences that I'm friends with, or I have some writer friends that are with my same publisher. I feel like I have, a few little groups now, and I don't know, it's really a pretty great community overall, I'd say. I feel like most writers are supportive of one another and want each other to succeed and want to see each other do well and want to help promote each other. And yeah, it's a pretty great community overall.
Yeah, I think having that community support in any kind of art is so important. But I've heard two huge things that you said just now to to inspire some writers. One, persistence. Keep writing, keep doing it, and two, find that community that's going to support you. Find those like-minded people that will support you. Quick story: Penny and I did go to a writers' conference in Colorado. It was a horror genre writer. Was that?
Yeah.
It was right around Halloween time, and it was at the hotel that was based on the Shining.
The Stanley Hotel.
And it didn't. It turned out to be a scam. It was.
Well, so it had happened. They had it had been held the previous 2 or 3 years, and the guy who organized it had gotten into some trouble that year, and he basically took the money and just didn't show up.
Oh, it was.
Oh yeah, it was a scam.
Yeah,
but it was like, but we really, I think we salvaged that trip pretty well though.
We had a wonderful time. We had a very nice time. There was a lot of very angry people, but yeah, talking about community and finding those people that really kind of light your fire and you can bounce those things off of. I have so many comments are coming in from people that I don't know. Some of the are coming up from your own community too. So like to those people who are trying to write, find those writers groups. There's lots on like virtually online that you can get into. And just keep writing. But like talking about writing, and like when I'm just started, I'm your friend, and I'm always so proud of you. But when I start reading your books every time, I'm like I have to read. I'm like, oh my god, yes, Penny is a great writer. Like I'm just reading. I'm like, this is so good, and you tell such compelling stories. What do you think? What is your kind of advice for people who want to tell really compelling stories that get you at the beginning, right away?
That's a great question. Yeah, you have to just get to the action as soon as possible. Writing styles have changed. It's just like, it's TV changes. It's, used to when you watched a movie, there was like 30 minutes of setup. I noticed this when I tried to watch Gremlins with my son a few years ago, and he was just like, this is the most boring thing I've ever seen in my life, because there's like a half hour of setup, right? And that's just not storytelling anymore. We're all used to the immediate, like, here we go, we're going right into it. And it's the same with books. It's like if you don't necessarily have to go directly into action, but you have to give the reader something to hold on to. I feel like immediately you have to give them a person to hold on to, something about a character that's interesting or funny or engaging. There's people don't have the attention spans anymore to hang around for a few pages of description before we even know who we're supposed to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just immediately try to grab people immediately, even if you have to go into the story faster than you would like, I guess.
Well, it seemed like, and I don't know if it's maybe the same for writing as in for improv, but improv, we kind of tell people in scenes to start kind of in the middle, and not meaning like start in the middle of the action, start with something going on. We can figure out kind of the other details later on, but captivate us right away with those characters.
Yes.
But I think you do such a great job. Did you guys
no, girl, no. And it wasn't enough to it wasn't enough to for us to like do anything legally with. We could have like had a class action or something, but that was going to be trying to get a bunch of writers to sign on to a lawsuit. Sorry. Could everybody see that question? Or are they wondering what the hell I'm talking about? Like if people watching can see that.
We did not sue and no one got their money back from the conference.
No, nobody got their money back.
We did have a great time. We met an impersonator of Jack Nicholson. We went to a great Halloween party. But we do have a question from Joy. This is the first book that Joy has read. Do you always write in the first person, or have you attempted a double first person before this?
Yeah, so this is my first double first person, Joy. Thank you for asking. I've done, and my other two that are out are first person. I have written third person. And with Cricket, it was third person, and my editor had me switch it to first because she just felt like I had a stronger voice that way. I think some people are better at third and some people are better at first. I keep trying with third though, because I feel like you can get a lot more information in without the characters being aware of stuff necessarily. So I kind of want to do that, but I'm just, it's not my thing apparently.
Ooh.
Hey, Kelly. Kelly's also from Arkansas.
Pig suey is how we call the Razorbacks in Arkansas. So it's not a dish that we enjoy there.
Not a dish. Surprisingly not a dish, you know.
Someone will watch this. It will be at Cotham's in the city in Little Rock tomorrow, pig suey.
That would be great.
Yeah. What do you like? So another question for you. Like what kind of like inspires your characters and your writing? What do you really pull from when you're writing creatively?
I pull from, here you go. Sorry, I was making sure that my link was up. Man, I don't know. I can occasionally pull from people. I've tried to do the thing where you kind of pull from people you know and kind of blend things together, and I'm not great at that. I just make a lot of shit up, and that's just my comfort zone. I've always enjoyed making up stories and making up people and wondering what someone would be like if they were, if they were in this circumstance, and I don't know. Yeah, I just really do make a lot of stuff up. I used to, when, from back in our restaurant days, I used to kind of eavesdrop on conversations, not to be nosy, but just to hear what people sound like and what people actually say. So I kind of pull from that a little bit too, because I would kind of almost like see a person, hear them say something, and then I would develop a whole backstory for them and what their personality is probably like. And so I kind of apply that to my writing as well.
That's just a really good exercise too, like in
and it's fun,
development, like to figure out their whole life from just
yes,
a little bit about them.
And it's fun when you're bored waiting for tables, right? It's like I can make up everybody's backstory.
Jessica has a question. How do you structure your books, and any tips on book structure?
Girl, that's so hard. I read a bunch of trade books, as far as trying to, because I'm always trying to find an easier way, trying to find like, okay, if I could just write it, A, B, C, D, E, F. Yeah, like I'm always trying to find an easier way to streamline things. I think with Suicide Souls, I used a lot of Rock Your Plot, that series. I can't remember the author's name, but she's also a book coach. And I had a consultation with her because I got stuck on the plot. And you can have a phone call with her. I can't remember how much it was, maybe $100 or something for 30 minutes. And she will have you very quickly tell you your plot beats, and she'll suggest ways for you to fix it or where you should go next. And it's like she has that kind of brain where you can just tell her what's happening and she can tell you what should probably happen next. Like one of these 2 or 3 things would be a logical plot move. And so it was really cool. So I like reading. I'm trying to remember what else I've read lately. I've read a few other plot books lately. Oh, thanks, Terry. I went to high school with Terry. We graduated together. Hey, no, Larry, you cannot take Arkansas. I don't think girl. I do. So yeah, Jessica, you know how it is, girl. It's hard. Jessica is an author too. And it's I try to read craft books as much as possible to kind of keep my brain thinking about like how can I actually write without just writing a bunch of crap and then trying to make a plot out of it, because it's easy to do. It's easy to get distracted and just write things that don't go together.
Yeah. So you set there are set beats. You have that kind of idea, and then you kind of write around that kind of structure.
Yes.
Okay.
Usually for me, so Suicide Souls, it was the plot that came to me. It was like the people in the afterlife. I have had characters. With On the Bricks, it was more of a character. I thought if I came up with Cass, I don't even remember how. Oh, I do know exactly how I came up with that. I'm lying to you right now. Do you remember the show Weeds?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember what season it is, but when she's getting out of prison and she's leaving her cellmate Zoya, and they share this like really sweet moment, and you can tell that they've had this relationship and now it's over. And it's great that she's getting out, but she is leaving behind someone she was in a relationship with. And that was where I got the idea to start On the Bricks. The plot, of course, is different, but I start in a similar place where she's leaving her cellmate and her best friend and her lover. And it's like she's going through these emotions of like, I want to get the hell out of here. But I know I'm going to be leaving this person that I might never see again. And we've been together for 10 years, right? So that's kind of yeah, it's usually a small seed for me. It's like a little idea of something. And as long as I can keep the momentum going and keep working on it, I can develop it into something more.
Beautiful. I think Amy, our voice of Amy, has some more questions that she's going to send to us.
Oh, do I have back? I do sometimes, Joy. And I have, and On the Bricks, my last book, no, that was the first one that came out. On the Bricks came out first. Anyway, my first book, On the Bricks, I had a whole lot of backstory that I ended up cutting because it just kind of slowed the story down. But I prefer to write it out. Even if I don't do a scene with the backstory, I will have it in my own notes just so I can know where someone's coming from with something and how they might react in a situation, and whether or not character changes will make sense to me as I go.
Do you write short stories that then give rise to a full book, or do you go into it with a whole book idea?
Usually whole book idea. And I have tried to make short stories out of my books before, like pull a chapter that could be a shorter story. And I'm going to keep working on that. Haven't been super successful with it yet, but I would like to do that. What am I working on next? Girl, Libby. Well, thanks, Libby. Libby, by the way, check out her books, you guys, on Amazon. She has got some amazing, really fun cozies that are just great. But I have one manuscript completed that I don't think I'm probably going to end up doing anything with. It's just not working out. And then I've started a couple others, but I've been spending most of my time on a screenplay lately. So I'm going to keep going with that. It's kind of sci-fi, it's sci-fi / workplace dark comedy.
Oh, I love all of those. That's great.
You're gonna like it, Jesse. You need to. I'll send it to you. But yeah. So that's right now.
So if you were what's the process of like turning your book into like a screenplay? What does that look
Well,
like?
this one's I'm going straight into a screenplay.
Okay.
Because I have tried to go the other way. I have tried to kind of engineer it the other way before. And Joy, we should talk about that. Joy Joy runs the Dexter Community Players, fantastic theater.
Ooh, plug.
Ooh, yeah, we can talk about that.
All right.
What do you think Jesse's favorite chemical element? Jesse, do you have a favorite chemical element?
Huh. A chemical element. I would have to say gold.
Is that okay? That makes
Is
sense.
that a chemical element? That's an element.
I don't know.
It's on the table. Is that you meant, Terry?
Larry.
Larry, I'm sorry.
That was Larry.
Yes.
Yes. Does that come back as you?
That's beautiful.
Gold is a wonderful element. Gold, yes.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
Thank you.
From the authority of the ghost.
Thank you, Amy. Beautiful. So do you want to read a little bit of the book? Suicide Souls really felt like it's ripe for a sequel. Are you thinking about that?
I have thought about it a little. And I'm tossing around some ideas. I have tried to write sequels, though, to my other two novels that are out, and I just I haven't been successful at it yet. But maybe this is the one. I wrote about a third of a sequel to On the Bricks, and then just wandered off from it. So, but maybe I feel like I lose lose excitement for the idea of the sequel a lot because I feel like I get done with the characters. I want to write sequels though, because I love reading sequels. You know, you get attached to these characters and it's so exciting when a new book comes out, and it's like, I would really love to write like that. But so far it hasn't worked out. We'll see.
No. Let's just commit to it. We'll say yes.
We'll say yes.
You're gonna do a sequel. You're gonna do a sequel. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to read? We're gonna read the first chapter.
Sure.
Of the book. I'll read it aloud. If you have the
Yay.
book, you can follow along. All right. And again, you do a wonderful job before you even get into the book that addresses kind of the nature of suicide and gives a I have to go back to where I was in your book, but you just give some information about crisis and mental health, and so that is in the book, but I won't read that. All right, everyone, I'm going to read the first chapter of Suicide Souls by Penny Jones. I'm going to get real into the microphone too while I do it. Here we go. Chapter 1. There's no reason to second guess my decision to kill myself. It's too late for that. I could have tried to stick it out, taken some meds, talked to a therapist, started medicating and all that shit. My increased self-awareness is the best thing to come out of all of this. All of this being my suicide attempt, which was completely successful because that's the kind of person I am. I was. Whatever. I'm dead now. I'm visiting my loved ones as they grieved. It's part of the process for them, for me, for everyone. You know, when someone you love commits suicide, you feel sad about it completely out of the blue, and it feels like someone just punched you in the stomach, even though you were dealing with it okay just a few days before. That's part of the process. Suicide souls have to watch their friends and family grieve in order to move on. It's punishment for us, but also for our loved ones, which is shitty. And if they aren't grieving for us when we visit, we have to wait until we observe their grief before we can move on to the next loved one, until we run out of people we've left behind and start the search for a vapid body to inhabit and start our new lives. It's some serious shit, I know. I'm sure finding a vapid body will be its own set of problems, or maybe it won't be because of most of humanity is an empty pile of garbage. But I won't know for sure until I get through this long list of loved ones. There are so many more loved ones than I had considered. It's a funny thing how many people love you. Yet I felt so utterly alone that I thought my death would be no big deal for anyone. There are no markers of time in the afterlife, or spirit world, or purgatory, or heaven, or whatever. Nobody has given me a handbook to tell me the official title. I just get bits of information from my mentor, Edgar, who appears when he's not busy hunt stalking whichever Jonas brother is the hot one, which is all of them. There are clucks, which is good. Good it is to know what time it is when you just. What good it is to know what time it is when you don't know what year you're in. The most disorienting is that there's no waking up for breakfast or turning in for bed. No waking up to a new day, though my concept of a new day had been exhausted long before I offed myself. I don't remember much about my last seconds on Earth, probably because I passed out before the booze and benzos. I sort of remember the thought process that brought me to the big sleep on my rumpled navy blue comforter. Did my mom wish that I had left the bed tidier? Why, yes, she did. I heard her say it while I waited for her to cry. The time lapse between my suicide and my arrival in the afterlife is unclear, but it doesn't matter. I laid down in my messy bed, and the next thing I knew, I was in a waiting room. Such a cliche, right? Everywhere we go, we wait. My last boyfriend, Greg, the one who's also dead, told me once that we spent about 6 months of our lives waiting at traffic lights. He used that as an excuse to stop driving and take his bike everywhere. I know it seems like a good idea, but he would arrive late, smelling like exhaust and armpit. Unidentifiable music played in the waiting room. It sounded like the longest piano recital in the world, playing maybe a collection of hymns mixed with show tunes. There were 3 other people in the room, but none of us spoke. A handsome black man in a timeless dark suit opened the door and said, "Naomi," with the boom of a microphone. I stood and followed him into the small office. The door closed behind us without either of us touching it, like a prison door, so I've heard. "My name is Edgar." He extended his hand, and we went through the motions of shaking without actually touching. "I'll be your mentor through Grief Watch." That's how it works here. There's no actual contract. We hang on to our routines anyway. Even things like sitting and hugging. It's weird at first, but you get used to it. "Naomi," I said, even though he had already knew my name. "As you may have figured out, you're dead." I looked down to my cleavage. I wore a red stripper dress and platform heels to the party. My nails were lacquered in gold. Fortunately, I took off the shoes before I killed myself, but I was still wearing the stripper dress. I almost never dress like that. Why did I choose to die in such a tacky dress? Part of the process, I'm afraid. You'll be able to change later. Did you read my mind? The thought filled me with a new type of terror. No, I just saw the look on your face, and I see the tragic dress. I know it's bad, but tragic? Yes. Edgar nods his head. Okay, listen up. We've got a lot to cover. It's January, so we're at top volume. I've had a lot of souls to process. First comes Grief Watch. You'll be sent from loved one to witness their grieving. Consider afterlife voyeurism. Everyone must do it. You have certain tools at your disposal. Can I at least write some of the stuff down? I asked as he rattled off stuff about emitting scents and some vague shit about manipulating energy. I wanted to ask if haunting and watching were the same thing, but I was nearing overwhelm and I didn't want more information. You won't need to. I'll check in with you soon. He smiled, and in a way that wasn't quite reassuring enough. I felt something pull me from all directions. The room swirled into blues, reds, greens, yellows, grays, and other colors. I didn't have time to identify. There was a whoosh sound, and it was my mother's bedroom. That was where my grief watch began. I don't know how long ago that was. I'm in Jamie's shiny new bungalow now, where he lives with his shiny wife, Lainey, and their shiny new baby, even though he told me he didn't want kids. Jamie hooked up with Lainey only a few months after we broke up. They got married about 2 years after the last time Jamie and I had crazy, hot, drunken monkey sex in his dingy apartment over the few bars in Little Rock that stays open past 2 a.m. His place always smelled of cigarettes, and most nights of the music rose from the floor like smoke from a grease fire. My best friend Eliza came to my place with assorted chocolate truffles and cheap bubbly to break the news about Lainey's pregnancy. That about a year after their wedding. That baby is probably about 6 months old now, judging by the fat rolls. That's how I know that it's been around 1 year since I've swallowed that fistful of pills and settled into the horizontal Hilton, and I know I don't mean Paris. Lainey's pregnancy sent me on a spiral. The stereotypical depressed stuff, forgetting to shower, eating potato chips for breakfast, carving, "we should all just die," into the bathroom stall with a nail file. And no, not just because Jamie was having a baby with someone else. Even though Jamie and I had been in love at one point, I had already loved and lost someone else by then. It was because Jamie found someone else to be a worthy vessel for his child. Inferiority slunk down my throat into my stomach and seeped from my pores. Honestly, I wasn't mother material. I was a mess, obviously, right? No one who has their shit together ends up as a suicide soul. Even though, even my sister thought I wasn't cut out to be a mother. She stood in her kitchen with her hands on her hips right next to the refrigerator and covered in shitty kid art and told me that the kids were going to someone from their church if she and her husband both died in a car accident or plane crash or mass shooting. Seriously, Naomi, don't act hurt. It's that we just can't trust you to raise the kids in our faith. And you party too much. She smiled sweetly and added, you really don't want all this anyway, do you? Do you mean the paunch and the floppy tits? She didn't think it was funny. I could tell by the way she threw a sippy cup at my head and told me to get out of her house. But no, my lack of maternal qualities is not why I did what I did. I was sad and lonely to the point of being a rom-com level cliche. I'm sure that the clinical depression played a role as well, but I self-medicated so much I honestly didn't know how I felt anymore. And there was Greg, the last boy I loved, but I can't really blame it on him. I honestly thought if I killed myself fast enough, I'd catch up to him. Silly me. I shouldn't have been doing any thinking after that, all that vodka, but it was so hard not to blame myself for what happened to him. Not that I worked out all those issues when I was alive. I've had a lot of time to sit around and reflect lately, and I still haven't caught up to Greg. So here I am in Jamie's bedroom, waiting for him to grieve. It's boring as fuck. Jamie is a stay-at-home dad because Lainey is an attorney. Jamie is a sculptor. So it made sense that he would be the one to stay at home with their shiny baby son, who is currently napping, as is Jamie. Jamie is gorgeous. As much as I hate to admit it, he's the type of guy who awakens a woman's ovaries and makes them scream, over here! We need your broad-shouldered sperm to sperm up all our shit. His long eyelashes flutter as he dreams, and I've had all the watching him I can take. The urge to slap him overtakes me, and I have even less control over my impulses now that I'm dead, so I do it hard, right across his stinking, beautiful face. What I didn't know is that he could feel it. That's a new one on me. I've tried touching loved ones to console them, to hug them, to wipe tears, but he was the first slap, and there was skin-to-skin contact. There was even a thwop noise. It feels fantastic to touch skin, to slap skin, to try to grasp it. Really, I wish I could. Jamie jerks awake, and I slap him again to see if it works, but it doesn't. My hand goes directly through his head, just like my other attempts at touching. Emitting scent is a gift bestowed on us to help move the grieving shit along. I emit a scent people remember me by. Snuggle fabric softener. I dug the bear. Shut up. And menthol cigarettes. Tears spring from Jamie's brown eyes, turning those long eyelashes into tiny, clumpy strands. Naomi, he whispers. I know if normal human emotions were still my thing, I would be into some heavy regret right now. I would feel that tug from knowing it's my fault that he's crying and wishing I could make that not be so. I recognize those feelings, but they don't ring true. I don't want to change the past because unless yearning is reserved for the living, can't say I miss it. Don't get me wrong, it sucks to watch friends and family cry because of something I did, but it's different sort of shitty feeling, especially since I need them to grieve so the process can continue as it's supposed to. Maybe Jamie is the last one and I'll be able to move on and look for a body. We have to learn how to stick it out, i.e. live until we die from forces outside of our control in our new bodies, or we face darkness. My understanding is that it's not hell. It's not just nothing, non-existent, lights out, donezo. Jamie picks up his phone and pushes some buttons. That James Blunt song oozes from the shitty phone speaker and he starts bawling. It's a pretty douchey move considering that I hate that song. I wish I could slap him again. Jamie's baby wakes up crying. Jamie gets out of bed and wipes his eyes on his sleeve. He sniffs a couple of times and leaves the room. I brace myself for the teleportation, and I feel now the familiar pull. It's sort of like a vacuum pulling at my entire body. It's unpleasant, and I kind of enjoy trying to make out the colors. Maybe this grief watch shit is finally over. End of chapter 1.
Thank you for reading that.
That it's so good. It's so compelling. You're like sucked in. I know some questions popped up while I was reading. I didn't see. Did you see any questions that you wanted to answer?
I think there are more comments.
Oh, okay. Go over.
They were lovely.
Horizon Hilton. Wonderful.
I thought that was such a. Oh, there she is. We talked about your apartment. Sorry, that was a throwback to the earlier guys. So Naomi would have died in 2007. So the Horizon Hilton thing, I was like, this is not going to make sense if people aren't grounded where we are, and also like people who weren't old enough to remember how Paris Hilton was such a big deal for a while, and she was on the TV all the time and like on all the news, and it was so annoying. I couldn't stand it. So I had to get in a little dig at Paris Hilton. I don't know why.
I think that was a very funny line. I don't think Paris Hilton needs to be popular now for anyone to not have missed that. It was very good. Yeah.
Thanks.
You can answer these comments. I can't Terry, I can't see
I don't know what
your emojis on this side. Even my sister. Beautiful. So like I really want to like next in the so we learn about Naomi in that chapter, and we get even more into the next chapter, and then we learn a little bit about Luke. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Luke's character and his journey?
Sure. So he's from a very tiny town in Missouri, and he's been dead too long. It's been 10 years, and so he's about to get sent to oblivion without his second chance because he's just simply taken too long. But it's really hard for him to watch people cry, and he doesn't like doing the things that makes that happen. He doesn't want to see everyone grieve. And to his credit, it's not just his fault. Like the mentors were kind of playing around with him a little bit, and he didn't have all the rules. He didn't know exactly what he should be doing, but he also wasn't figuring it out on his own. Like he wasn't motivated enough to keep moving forward and finding out what he needed to do. So Naomi ends up having to help him get through it because she does it a little too well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. And he, that's so good. Where did I get the idea of her pulling? It was, Zoom breakout rooms weren't a thing yet, but I really do like that. I like that a lot though. I don't know where I got the idea. I think maybe, I feel like there was something in my brain from that, because I feel like in college, maybe I knew some people who were trying to do what's it called when you're supposed to be able to like be asleep and move from one place to the other. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I know what you're talking about, like astral projecting.
Thank you. I think it was maybe.
I watched a lot of Sabrina. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, I think it was something maybe deep in my brain about astral projection or something, because I knew people who were interested in that kind of thing a long time ago.
I love the fantasy aspect so much, because you can just like be as creative as you want, kind of with that, and set those rules. And there's another character I love so much, Edgar, who's also kind of tied into the fate of these two characters. And I don't want to give anything away because I want people to like really enjoy the book and read it. And read. I feel manipulated. Larry, buy and read.
Yes,
that's
buy and read.
We're gonna manipulate you. Go buy and read. But like, so he's another really fun character. And I did promise some people that we were gonna cast our characters. So if you were going to buy it, thinking about it, if you were going to cast your characters, who would you cast?
Okay, this is hard, and I can't believe I hadn't already done this. So weird. But I think Naomi.
I'm available, Penny. Just want to say, and I'm getting quite a following for my voice on here. So just throw me in there.
So Amy's number one. Amy's number one. Okay, so stick with me here. This is going to sound crazy, but I just want you to sit with it a minute. But I think for Naomi, it would be really fun to have Kate McKinnon.
Oh yes.
So me.
Right?
So basically me. There we go. Nice.
Amy would be cheaper.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not.
That's true. And Luke, yeah, I had a hard time with Luke because originally I had in mind like the lead singer from Silverchair, but like 25 years ago, so that wouldn't apply now because he's like, our age. But yeah, so speaking of Sabrina, Ross Lynch, I think maybe would be, hey, Jesse, yeah, Jesse's with me. But Ross Lynch, I think would be a good choice. I want that tall, lanky, still young looking, just like, because he would have been only 20 when he died. So even though he's older than that now because, he didn't continue to grow or anything, but he's an old 20, but he's still young. So Edgar, I kind of gone back and forth on, but I think Lakeith Stanfield, from Get Out and Knives Out, 2 Out movies. But
Yeah. I
had a minute of Billy Porter on Edgar, but I was like, I don't think Edgar was not that Billy Porter's old. He's like my age, but I mean, I think Edgar is a little bit younger.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it'd still be, but but I want to put Billy Porter in everything. So maybe Billy Porter. We'll just make him a little bit older.
I think Billy Porter could play all 3 roles.
Please.
It'd be great. I'd love to see it. I want to see it. I want to see it so much. I'm so happy that we get to share this and get everyone connected to your book. But like, what are some things that you really want people to maybe take away after they read this book, or what are some things that what is the feeling after someone reads the book that you want them to feel?
I want them to feel. I wanted it to be a little bit comforting and grief. We've all had so much of that, especially lately. It feels like, and just thanks, Doggin. I mean, I want there to be a little bit of comfort and grief, and a little bit of a comfort of we don't know what happens next. We all have our beliefs, and we all have things we were raised with, and things we've tried to reestablish ourselves. I know I was raised like super religious, so I've had to kind of deconstruct that and rebuild my own belief system. And it's like, but nobody really knows, right? And it's like I don't know. I want to be able to provide a little bit of comfort in that, of the not knowing, and also to remind people that they are loved. Like every single one of these people is really loved when they die by suicide, and I know it's hard to know that when you're that down and that depressed and that you just feel so alone. And I just want people to know that they never are really alone. I try to be as careful as possible not to glorify suicide at all and not to make it look like, oh, this is a great idea. I wanted, but it does happen. And I want people to, I don't know. So I just want people to remember that they are loved, and that even when they feel alone and things feel really dark, there are people that love them. And when we lose people, maybe it's not the end. We really don't know, right? Yeah. So I don't know. So I guess maybe a little bit of comfort and a little bit of laughter. That's all I wanted to do, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Chris Harris said, so you're saying you're not Southern Baptist anymore?
Oh, how are you reading them?
Bless your heart, Chris.
Chris was Church of Christ, so.
Oh, no dancing there.
Yeah.
But like, so I love. I did get that message right away. It's like I got immediately that I got like these people, these characters are much more loved than they thought they were, and going through this process kind of like shows them how much how they were loved, and it's hard to see sometimes. So I think it's both. I think it's good on both ends. It's really good for someone who has dealt with that kind of loss, and to see the other side of it and have that kind of joy and hope and fun and humor with it. So we talked about this book a little bit. If people wanted to who have bought this book but haven't purchased your other books, what would maybe give them a little there's your blog is right there.
That's nice. Thanks, guys.
We're gonna do some plug-in. We're gonna do a little plug-in now. We plugged your book. We plugged this book a lot. Tell us about your other two. Tell us a little bit about your other 2 books that they can get on Amazon right now, and a little bit about where to find you. And
Sure. Okay. So On the Bricks, it was my first release. I actually wrote Cricket before On the Bricks, but On the Bricks was my first book that came out, and that is about a woman who is just out of prison after 10 years, and she she wasn't guilty of the crime she was convicted of, but she took the plea anyway, and because she was kind of lazy, and she also kind of thought somebody would rescue her, but because she had that kind of complex, and it's like, no, girl, you got to rescue yourself. But that's not the point. So she has to figure out who actually did commit the murder she was charged with or convicted of, and she's living with her sister in kind of a halfway house in Arkansas, and so navigating this cast of characters and leaving behind, you know, the woman who was her best friend and girlfriend and partner for 10 years, and so kind of renegotiating life and trying to figure out who she is now, and also figure out who committed the murder. And so that's on the bricks. And then Cricket is another one where I kind of made up a world, and there's an alternate history there where we've kind of lost our religious freedom, but in a different kind of way than what people claim we are. Instead, we are kind of have to adhere to certain religious rules, and it's a woman who is she's a small business owner. She runs a wet church because you can only drink at churches, just like kind of during Prohibition, churches could buy alcohol. Anyway, so she has a bar, basically it's registered as a church, and so she's living outside the law, and that one is not as funny. There's not much humor in that one. So,
but it's a very good read. It's very it's
thank you, Jesse.
Yeah, it's such. I think I read that. I think I read that in the third person before you changed it to first person.
Yes, too. You did. Yeah, you read it early on.
But like such a wonderful, compelling story, and just like so full of it's your heart's racing in this dystopian. What's going to happen next? Will they? Won't they? Kind of thing.
Oh, hey Jacob. And Jacob wrote a great blurb for me. Thanks, man.
Oh,
he's a writer and director.
So Amy has done a great job putting up your blog that's there, and then we'll also, and after this is over and this is still shareable and recorded, I'll put all the links to your social media, to your Twitter, and to your to get the book.
And what I forgot to mention that Jacob just did is I did some writing on his series Real America, and it's on YouTube. So that's not the whole thing yet, I don't believe, right, Jacob? But yeah, so he was kind enough to let me write a couple episodes of that with him. So it was lots of fun.
Yeah, let me put. If I can, I'll put more. Like if I can put the multiple links. I'm not. As we see from the beginning of this video, I wasn't not super. I don't know what's going on YouTube, but if I can, I'll put all the links on there too to share. And then, is there anything besides that you want to plug? Any?
No.
Okay. Right, no. We did so much. We plugged so much.
I do have on my blog. I do try to write to put up. I've been so bad at this year, you guys. But I try to keep book reviews going on there, and that's one of my goals this year is to get back on that because there's so many great books out there, and So if you want to check out any reviews I have there for other books, and hopefully I'll get back on that this year. But my brain's been weird the past year or so. I'm sure a lot of other people's have too.
Oh, 100%, 100%. I do want to give a huge shout out to Amy Lozetsky, who's helping us
run. Amy.
Helping us do this, and I do want to shout out to Amy, and Amy runs Finest City Improv, which I taught at for forever until the lockdown. So if you're interested in improv, or if you're a writer working on character things, we have a monthly subscription service called Save Our Stage, and there's lots of workshops on there that are that you can go and view and don't have to participate in. FinestCityImprov.com right there. You can go and join our monthly subscription service for a nominal fee, and there's so many different workshops that are available online, Susan. So I know it's COVID, and we are all excused from our brain things, but check out Save Our Stage. There's so many wonderful workshops and so many wonderful creative things to get your creative outlet out. So, and it also helps support Finest City Improv, a small business here in San Diego, and we're trying to make it through. Any other words, or Amy, that you want to say to anyone?
I'd like to say it's been a real honor to be your ghost voice, and I'm looking very much forward to reading this book. It sounds really fun. It's a really neat premise. So congrats, Penny.
Thank you. And thank you
Thank
for
you.
being our ghost voice.
Oh,
You're welcome.
go-
I look
go-
forward to taking Kate McKinnon's role. So
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone who joined us, and thank you, my good friend Penny. And I will talk to you all soon. And this will be recorded, and we can share it and stuff after this.
Thank you, Jesse.
All right. I love you. I love you guys. Bye.
Thank you, Tanisha.